But the few times that I've almost died in fires and stuff, I've always gotten a souvenir, and they're all up on the walls down there.
Every entrepreneur's journey, it seems like they all have a moment of resilience where they were crafted in an extremely hard situation.
I get on with the fire department. I'd always wanted to open my own bar, and we finally found the right spot downtown, and the two coincided at the same time. So in 2006, I opened my first bar. It was called Speakeasy.
Well, welcome to the Beyond Wealth podcast, George Cowgill. Thank you for joining me, man.
Thank you for having me.
Get you here.
Thank you.
Busy.
No. Thank you for staying on me about it. I appreciate it, Tom.
I know the restaurant business is just crazy. There's lots of, moving parts, and so I'm super grateful that you would join me here. So we actually met playing hockey.
Absolutely.
So I remember the first time we played. You were kind of like, who is this new kid? And you roughed me up a little bit, and I liked it. You're a fierce competitor, and it transfers over to what you do in the professional space. And I kind of learned that through that, and I was like, man, I have to have George on the podcast. So you co-own the Black Market Grill here in Birmingham. You've got 2 locations, and you just have had a great entrepreneur journey. I'm excited to hear about it. But I'd love to you kind of break down your story about kind of where you started. You were a fireman for a while, kind of now, owner of this restaurant and all the things you've learned through that. So just kind of break down your journey of how you got to be the man.
I wouldn't go that far, but I'm in my late 20s. My dad's a firefighter, retired firefighter, and great guy, a hero, all that. Still around, still kicking. And he's like, we were talking constantly, what are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do with your life? And I'm bartending and waiting tables. I was at Chili's. And then actually I was at The Mill, which was a very popular Birmingham restaurant in Southside. And later down the road, we would actually take that exact same spot. And I worked there at The Mill for 8 years. That's where I met co-owner Elise Yarbrough of Black Market Bar and Grill. We met there. And then, 2015, we ended up getting the spot. And we stayed there for 9 years.
Oh, wow.
But, my dad's like, what do you want to do? I was just like, I'm going to get my act together by the time I'm 30. I kept saying that. I kept saying it. And
30's the date.
30 was the deadline. I was like, you screw on your 20s. I tell people, I was like, I don't drink, drop, smoke, nothing like that. I tell my friends that do, I was like, listen, you can screw around in your 20s with that stuff. But in your 30s, there's 2 roads. There's the people that take care of themselves and the people that don't. And when you're 35, everyone's going to know which road you're on. Yeah. So I tried to grow up a little bit. Had a daughter, I have a daughter, and I'm 30, and she's 3 at the time. And I get on with the fire department. And I'm also in the back of my mind, I'd always wanted to open my own bar. Always wanted to. And we finally found the right spot downtown. And the two coincided at the same time. So in 2006, I opened my first bar. It was called Speakeasy. It's down on 3rd Avenue North. And downtown was still a ghost town. It wasn't it wasn't the social mecca it is now. We were by ourselves. Down there. Alabama Theater would have a show every 4 or 5 months. But besides that, we were a destination location. It was great. It was a lot of fun. And we didn't have food, which made it a lot easier. And that goes by for a few years. And it's fun. And my daughter, 6 years old at the time, she's like, well, we need to have a restaurant. We need to serve food. And I was like, well, I can't do it here. I don't have room for a kitchen.
I go to work. I want to eat.
That's what I swear. She was like, I can't even get in here legally. That's what she's saying. So that gives me the idea. I was like, we need to maybe expand our, for lack of a better word, brand and put some food in here. And we started looking and found the space on 280 that we're still at. And in 2009, I opened my first Black Market Bar and Grill. And it was tough. I paid for it on credit cards. Oh, my God. I don't recommend that to anybody. That's not... I'm not the guy. That's not the investment way to go. But I was like, I'm doing this, and I don't care what happens. And American Express, Discover, I got them all. And that's how we opened it.
Wow.
And for a year, it was a nightmare. I'm talking about TV dinner nightmare. Mm-hmm. And then after a year, it finally caught on over there on 280. And that was 16 plus years ago.
Man, that's amazing. I want to backtrack because we were talking earlier offline, and you were talking about in 2006 when you you were doing two career pathways.
Right.
You were in rookie school and you opened a bar.
Right.
And you said that you would like close at 2 a.m. and then have to be at training the next day at like 6:45. That's wild.
I tell people to this day, like I said to you, that was the toughest time in my life. And I was like literally burning at both ends. I like to sleep. I like to sleep more than 2 and 3 hours a night, especially when a rookie school, I mean, they beat you up. First thing you do, run. Second thing, work out, then train, and then go home, beat up at 5:30. And I would leave there and go to my bar speakeasy that just opened and work.
Right.
Straight, changing the bathroom. I had a bed there for a while, sleeping in the back.
Wow.
True story.
That's great.
And that went on for 18 weeks. And when I got out of rookie school and got on a normal firefighting schedule, 24 hours on, 48 off, it was great.
Yeah.
I mean, it was because when I was firefighting. Couldn't go to the bar.
Right.
And then another 2 days, I had a business partner then, Elise, same one. And, yeah. But speakeasy, 2009, the Black Market Bar and Grill location, our first one on 280, was doing so well, we decided to open up a second one. So the deal was we would turn that speakeasy into one, but move it to Southside. So in 2012, I opened my second Black Market Bar and Grill in 5 Points South, Birmingham.
Okay. And how long since moving? We'll talk about that move here in a little bit. But how long were you at that location in Southside? Good, probably almost 16.
2012 to now.
Yeah.
Over 12 years.
You just recently.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. That's a great pocket. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think, what's interesting is every entrepreneur's journey, it seems like they all have a moment of resilience where they were crafted in like an extremely hard situation. And obviously you have the pressures of, firefighter, rookie, school,
Mm-hmm.
opening a new restaurant with all of its challenges and all the different things. And then obviously also have a daughter that you got to support and love and care for. What are some of the takeaways of value and character that you feel like you learned in that season, specifically that still like holds you of like, man, I remember that time. This is what I built during that season. I learned about myself and all that.
Time management, big time.
Yeah.
The importance of doing things that matter. If I was in rookie school and I didn't believe in Black Market and at the time Speakeasy, I believed that we were going to open up a business that was going to work, that was going to be successful, that was going to be fun and let us be creative in our ways. And that pushed me. It wasn't like I was just getting a second career, just working at Walmart, something I didn't believe in. Like this is something I want to do. This is something I want to build. I equated it the same as writing a movie or a book or something like that.
Yeah.
Putting out a record. Like I wanted to create this and see where it will go.
Yeah.
And here we are. We're still looking to see where it's going to go, but it's going okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think that passion for the vision for what it could be probably sustained you through when it was just like, I don't know where the next paycheck's going from.
Right.
I don't know if I can get up right now.
Yeah.
I think that's an incredible story. How long were you a firefighter when you
17 years.
Okay.
I retired recently.
Yeah. So, I mean, you were doing that double shift for a long time.
I tell people that I know we're not going to get into that too much today, but I tell people one of the great things I've done is be a firefighter for the city of Birmingham. But one of the greater things I've done was to retire when I was supposed to, because that job was, it's tough. That is a tough job. I'm not talking about, maybe I can't speak for every city, but in Birmingham and in Eastlake and in Titusville where I was stationed, both of those stations are ranked the two busiest stations in the state of Alabama.
Wow.
And I spent my entire career there.
Wow.
I ran more calls in 17 years than most firefighters do in 30 to 35 years.
Wow.
It's on paper. I've been in over 600 house fires. It's nuts.
That's crazy. I've heard that it's a very demanding on your body and mentally.
If you're somewhere that really fights, like if you're in a bad neighborhood, you're going to get worked.
You're
You are. Yeah. So
that's wild. Tell me, okay, so let's kind of dive into that season of your life because it's such an interesting thing. I think a lot of people wouldn't have stayed that long running two careers. I think that's amazing. And obviously the nature of that is like you're fully focused in one pocket and then you got complete time off so you could kind of jump between these two worlds.
sure.
So it's kind of a unique situation, but a lot of people wouldn't co-create their lives like that. So let's jump into the firefighting. What lessons did you pull out of that, specifically that I think helped you with the other side of your business and different things? Was it team building? Was it
The main
working
thing,
with people, hiring, like all those different things?
if a great firefighter, a good firefighter, a really good firefighter, whatever you want to say, a top-notch firefighter, they won't quit if they're supposed to do something. They won't stop. Like, if they can't get a door open, they're going to bang on that door. They're not going to come back and say, hey, I couldn't get it open. You're just going to keep banging at it until something, if you don't get it, it's going to get open eventually. I don't walk away from things that need to be done. And I learned that from firefighting. I like helping people, man. I do. And an ex told me one time that the reason I liked it, and she was saying this in an argument, is because it made me feel good. And I'm like, so what? So I'm not gonna cuss anything. So effing what, man?
Yeah.
I still like it. So they're still getting help. I bet they don't care whether I like it or not.
It's interesting because I've gotten to know you completely outside of those different
Sure.
worlds, and you are really good at, like I think you said, caring for people. Like you have a hockey league that a separate league of guys that you built out and you help facilitate, and I think everybody respects you and enjoys the league and everybody wants in, and that ability to make people feel seen and feel valued, I think you carry into all aspects of your life, because that's all I know of you before this interview. And I think it's a really cool thing of a life value that doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's at black market, and obviously the success of that has been there, or if it's in the hockey league, or if it's in firefighting, that deep level of caring for other people and wanting to help others is
Thank you.
really cool. Where do you feel like that has that always been there, or is that something that over time you kind of developed that?
I picked it up from my dad.
Yeah.
My dad's I'm not sitting here and just George's Dad podcast. He was a beast. I'm the third. I'm George Cowgill the third. So I'm named that. We got the same damn name.
Yeah.
So you come on to Birmingham with that name, and I'm in rookie school with people that worked with him.
Yeah.
Recently. He'd been gone for a while. At the time I got on, he'd been retired 5 or 6 years. But
Okay.
they all knew him.
Yeah.
And so they all said the same thing. He's a beast.
Yeah.
Now he smokes, unfortunately, and he would go into a house fire. Back then they weren't wearing masks, and he would go into a damn house fire fully involved, burning, do what he had to do, and he would walk out with a cigarette in his mouth. So
Wow.
yeah, I'm just saying. So that's what I've got. That's the
Yeah.
I've got to compare to that.
Yeah.
It just seems like every generation sort of gets, seems not as tough as the one before it. And man, I tried hard to be as tough as my father.
Yeah.
So he had that. I would put, wanting to help others over his own needs. He still does it. I'm an old man, so my dad's definitely an old man. So that's where I got it from.
That's so good. That whole caught, not taught is something that I always rehearse in my brain, especially as I'm raising, I've got 2 sons, and there are times when I need to instruct them, but there's often times where I'm still just trying to teach myself, just be quiet and model it. If your expectations, they get up for school, well, you be up before them, showing them
Sure.
that there's, just little things. And so, it always challenges me. Yeah, like, and you hear stories like that even challenge you further. It's like, it is really a caught, not taught. Like, seeing the model in front of you, you just get it over the years
Right.
and start to emulate it. So that's incredible.
That's what
All
happened.
right, so let's dive into talk a little bit more about Black Market. One of the things I do love about it, the branding, the vibe, the feel of it, a lot of that is your brainchild and kind of, because I was like, hey, who does your design? And you do a lot of the design and kind of do that. So where does all that inspiration come from? And just kind of, did you pick up that art style over the ways, or did you kind of just say, I want the feel of the restaurant to be this way, or does it happen organically, or was it very thought out and very calculated? How did it
I think
grow?
nothing's ever with me thought out and planned, but I think a lot of it was organic.
That's cool.
As I went along, and when you become your boss, you still have to remind yourself, hey, I'm in charge, both good and bad. Like, hey, I'm in charge here. So I always told people I got into business because I didn't want to work for some jackass. And now that I'm the boss, I'm working for the biggest jackass of them all. So I know, like, I'm awful, I swear. And but yeah, the art, the designs, the layout, just it. My first bar, Speakeasy, that we mentioned earlier, was just sort of training grounds for that.
Yeah.
And I'm decorating it, and the theme and the art is all stuff that just I used to jokingly, semi-jokingly say that I was modeling the art after my bedroom growing up in high school and my college dorms. I mean, if I wanted to put something up, I put it up.
Yeah.
Real,
You're inspired by something, you're just like, let's throw it on the wall.
Absolutely. Huge comic book nerd, huge punk rock and heavy metal nerd.
Yeah.
Horror movies, all that. And they just sort of morphed together into what our brand, it's kind of camp, and I try to be in a fun way. I'm kind of goofy.
Yeah.
I'm real goofy, actually. So, like, I like puns and stuff like that. So if you notice in a lot of our designs, I'll put them out there with just some goofy pun, just sort of offset that we're not like, ooh, all hard and serious skulls and motorcycles and no.
But I think there's the authenticity,
Right.
And I think with this, especially what I feel like sometimes is a very curated, very calculated world, especially with, like, you can text someone instead of just having a conversation. You can very calculated say what you want in a text.
Right.
The authenticity, I think, rings true for people more than ever in our world now.
Yeah, sure.
And it's just you. It's just kind of what you kind of grew up with and enjoyed, and you're like, let's do it.
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be. If I like something, I like something.
Yeah.
Like, I love Archie comic books. I love them, man.
Yeah.
That's why we got Archie comic table. When I'm not going to put that on the, if I was single, I wouldn't put that on my Tinder profile. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm into 60s Barbie doll art. Again, it's not going on Bumble.
Yeah.
So authentic, good or bad.
Yeah.
This is what I'm into, and that stuff on the walls. And I'm real into Birmingham history. If you look at a lot of the art that we have up, is old signs. I don't steal. I don't. But I found quite a few signs from abandoned buildings and stuff like that.
That's cool, man.
So yeah, I just there's so much that I remember people will come in and see that stuff, and they'll be like,
was some of it from, like, different fires or different things? Like, you would just randomly find stuff. You're like,
a lot of
that'll be good in a restaurant.
A lot for the longest time. If a house burned to the ground, I was taking the metal numbers.
Yeah.
When the house is on the ground, no one cares.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm not trophies. No one died. I'm not.
Well,
just if abandoned house burns down,
it's kind of reliving its life in a new space and stuff. It's funny. Sometimes I think so when I'm flipping houses or walking properties, it's just interesting to think about the span of time. Because I'm typically looking at houses from anywhere built from 1920 to 70s.
Sure.
And it's just like, there are so many different people that lived in this house. There's so much history. There's so many different people who thought, I'm going to renovate it this way. You find quirky renovations and weird walls that were put up, and you're like, why did they do that? But a house tells a story, and it's cool that you took pieces of it and let it live on, tell the story somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, that's awesome.
I'm not a badass. I'm not tough. I'm not. I know I look like one. It's like I say this is my porcupine skin to keep people from messing with me, but I'm a teddy bear. But the few times that I've almost died in fires and stuff, I've always gotten a souvenir, and they're all up on the walls down there.
Yeah,
And it's been close a few times, so
yeah.
whatever.
Reflecting on those moments, that has to be like a pretty intense thing. Does it give you what's that feeling? Because I don't think I've done I've had moments. I took a Miata off the side of a hill accidentally. That was pretty scary. But like when you come that close, does it kind of really focus you on what matters, or does it make you think back to regrets, or for you, what does it do?
The times it's been really close, it's just reminders to make sure I'm on track. That like I don't want. There's so much I want to do, man, with life. I mean, I write. I love these restaurants. I mean, I love playing hockey. There's so much I want to do. So I just think about that constantly. Like, I just want to make sure that in moments like that, I just want to make sure that, okay, afterwards, I'm like, am I doing the most I can? So there are always the few times, quite a few times on the job that I really thought, oh, this could have been the last day for George. I go home with a reminder that, like, okay, A, be more careful, and B,
Yeah.
try and be motivated here. I mean, I had a gun held in my head one time, and the cop shot and killed the guy.
Wow.
I mean, it was, and afterwards, I remember, I was in charge that day, and I remember being on the radio, like, I need a cigarette, and I hadn't smoked cigarettes since I was 12 years old. So, and I was like, I need a cigarette or something. So, but
yeah, that's intense.
those are the takeaways from,
Something you said earlier, and it kind of harkens back to what you just said now. It says doing things that matter. Like, I think, and I'm challenged with this. That's what part of why I love doing this podcast and talking to different people is just like, I pull nuggets from it all the time.
Sure.
And just doing things that matter is crucial.
I try and live by that. I really do. Like, I don't want to get stuck doing a job that doesn't matter, or just day in, day out that doesn't make me happy.
Yeah.
Happiness is important, man. I mean, I'm 51. I feel like every day I feel like I just sort of figure that out more and more. It's just like there's no reason to, look for things to make you mad.
Yeah, agreed.
But
well, that's amazing. So let's circle back to Black Market.
Sure.
And so you kind of built it up in Southside, kind of rolling through. You kind of have 2 locations now. You kind of have probably figured out how to do restaurant. And then an opportunity pops up to move to Avondale. Talk me through that transition and why you guys chose that, and kind of where that position you guys for that next season.
It's on the sadder side of things. We moved to Southside in 2012, or opened up our location in 2012, and it was great and busy and flagship location right in the middle of town, hotels and all that. And over the next decade, since COVID, that side of town has just deteriorated to the point of not being able to sustain at least our kind of businesses. The money was good still. It's just the crime and the violence in the neighborhood. I felt like the city borderline turned its back on Southside. I really do. After the World Games, because they came in during the World Games, and it was safe, and there was a police presence, and there was no problems. And then after the World Games came and went a few years ago, the decline was so rapid. And I had a couple of waitresses assaulted, attacked. One had her jaw broken out back, just from...
just crime.
Yeah, just crime. Yeah. And then I kept meeting with our landlords, and property manager, real nice guy, friend of mine, like him a lot. But, I mean, he was just a property manager. I mean, he can't control the whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
And we're meeting with him about a year and a half ago, a few times, and telling him, and he's contacting the city and trying to get everyone involved and telling us, look, these businesses are leaving. And then there was more incidents, and finally, Avondale called, and it was a good location,
Yeah.
and it's in the shadows of Avondale Brewery, who does 60 or 70 Live Nation shows a year, draw 2,000 to 3,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, and we get on the roof and watch the bands, Todd. I mean, we're that close. We're right there. I mean, I could throw peanuts at them if I wanted to, but we're right there. And I was just like, I felt like I jokingly said that Southside was done with us. And when we told him we were leaving, he told him I blindsided him. And I said, listen,
Yeah, we've been
I've
talking
told
about
you. I
that.
said, man, you haven't been paying attention. I'm sorry. And when we moved out, we'd been out 3 weeks, and they had a mass shooting on our patio. Shot 21 people, 4 dead. The bullets sprayed across our patio. And it was a Saturday night, about 11:15. I would have had, if we'd been there, 12 to 15 employees working. One of them being my 24-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
So she was down at Avondale working that night, meaning she probably would have been in Southside that night working. And after that happened, man, I hate people. I cried my eyes out, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it was awful.
Yeah.
I understand that it was a targeted gang thing. Okay, that's for the one guy. 3 more are dead. 21 more shot.
Yeah.
And people quit asking me why I moved after that.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to know when we moved until that happened. And then people were like,
Yeah.
okay.
Because you were boots on the ground, and I think that's what, and it is very sad, and I'm, we know that crime is,
Sure.
an issue, obviously, in every city. Birmingham's not specific, but we know specifically there's certain issues in Birmingham that need to be addressed and need to be taken care
Absolutely.
of. And I think as investors and business people, we can bring a lot of life, and we can bring productivity and good things and entrepreneurship. But at some point, you got to say, hey, we're not getting partners with this. We gotta figure something out.
Sure.
So for you guys, it sounds like a super positive new journey. I'm really excited for you guys.
It's been amazing. For starters, $60,000 a year cheaper rent. That's for starters. Starters. And I mean, so let's just say we can match what we were making. That's still.
Yeah. You're 60 grand.
Yeah, I know.
But I love that pocket of Avondale.
Oh, me too. I think there's
really good things happening.
I think a lot's going to be more. Every Avondale Brewery is building that new upper deck. I mean, it is awesome. More people, bigger concerts.
Okay.
I've seen their list of the shows they've got coming for this season. They haven't even announced. They've got some bands. I'm like, a big band. Well, like they've got one. I can't say because they haven't announced it yet. I promised. It was under secret. They've got 2 bands playing that are way too big to play that 3,500 cap.
Yeah.
So there's going to be 3,500 people in there and another 1,000 out in the parking lot listening.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wanting food and drink, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
tell me that, I've heard that businesses feed off of each other. Obviously, you are a bar too and a grill.
Sure.
And they are as well, but I would think that there's a relationship that you guys help each other.
Big time.
And especially in the bar scene, like it's not a. Do you feel like there's a lot of good collaboration?
I just existence. Like so many people, usually not in the industry, they'll come to me like if a bar, over the years, a restaurant was opening up near us. Like, are you worried about the competition? I'm like, no, because they're going to come, they're going to be next to you, and they're going to advertise, and they're going to have their people, and they're going to have their friends. Yeah. And I mean, it's not like they're going to live there and never venture out. You want to be around people. People like to bop around.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, it goes back to like branding and
sure.
vibe. Like, you have a unique MO. You have a unique thing to offer the city. And that comes from you, obviously. Yeah. You haven't copied and pasted. It's just, this is who I am. This is what I like. This is how we run our business. And so when you have that security of who you are as a business, you don't worry about competition. Right. You see it as collaboration, because one day they may want to go to Avondale Brewery, but the next day they're probably going to want to go to Black Market. And that's fine. Right. And that's good. And freedom of choice brings more people in that area, and they may go to both one night.
Oh, that's what we're really getting before those shows. I mean, I jokingly say we're like a kiosk at Bridgestone during a concert, because when Primus played, We got hammered.
Yeah.
Hammered.
Yeah.
And,
That's awesome.
Then the concert went, everyone sort of dwindled off. And then when the concert was over, they hammered.
Yeah. Came back.
Hey, another thing, this is just me bragging. I don't know why. I've been meaning to make this a flyer, but I'm just going to brag to you. This was never an issue beforehand, but, Avondale's pretty locked in with Live Nation.
Okay, yeah.
So they do a lot of their stuff. And we've only been over there 6 months, and the bands that we've fed already, it's crazy.
That's
Like,
awesome.
they came and got food for Nicki Minaj. And,
wow.
That's not my thing, but my wife started doing backflips when she found that out.
She's
That
like,
Nicki
"What?"
Minaj was going to be eating wings from Black Market Bar and Grill. She thought that was the coolest thing. So that's another thing that is relatively new to us is feeding celebrities because,
Yeah.
if I want to put that on a flyer now, I can.
Yeah.
Without lying. So,
That's amazing.
yeah.
So talk to me about the business partnership you have with Lisa, like how that has developed, how that's worked, because there's a lot of people who do partnerships and they don't work out well. And I think the ones who figure it out and find that person, it's like rocket fuel for their business.
It's the perfect relationship in a business. It really is. Elise Yarbrough is my business partner. We met at the mill that we worked at in Southside back in like 2002, 2003. Bartending, waited tables together, all that stuff. She's the smart one.
She's the one I should have.
She's the one that can talk about biz. No, you're not. I'm the one that throws darts at a dartboard, and if it sticks, we run with it. So, but no, in all kidding aside, she handles the books, the money. I would say the unfun stuff. She stays on me to make sure I'm not spending too much on ads and stuff like that. And then personality-wise, she's like Snow White. So she's pretty, one of the nicest people on the face of this planet. And she takes care of all that, and she lets me run wild on our ads, the menus, our look. I'm really into our designs, and I do all our graphic work and trying to present what, how the world sees us. But she is the bones of the business, so to speak. Yeah. And
do you feel like there's a little bit of overlap in some of y'all's talents, and you could kind of have things that it's like there's space that she speaks to, and it's like you take all that and there's space, but then there's a collaboration of like, hey, let's both talk about these decisions in this overlap area.
There definitely is collaboration on how we treat people, how we treat our employees.
Yeah.
I've had some terrible bosses. I mean, really bad in the bar industry in the world. I mean, they're out there. Mm-hmm. People that like to drink and then tell people what to do. No, I mean, this is. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No,
but
so you guys really craft the culture.
That's
together.
What we were like. We were like, I think it's possible to run these restaurants, and not let people walk on us, but be good to your employees.
Yeah.
Like, I tell them, I was like, if they show up for me, I'll show up for you. I'll bail them out of jail. I'm changing flat tires at 2 a.m. Wrecks, all that stuff. We try and treat them like, we do treat them like family. They're our family. They really are. And it's pretty quick if someone's not going to work out with us, And I don't even know how many employees we have, maybe 80.
Wow.
It's counting both bars. And I mean, I love those guys. If they work for us, we'll go to the ends of the earth for them. And we both have that mentality. We both handle our staff the same.
Do you feel like, because I know that the restaurant business can be kind of high turnover, and
Sure.
Do you feel like that helps you find quality and helps you keep people, that culture?
I'm trying to remember our newest hire. I know they've been there for a while. Yeah, it's been forever since we've had to hire anybody. Yeah. I mean, we're coming up in the hiring season. We need people, so we're about to start hiring to add on just because we're coming into the busy season. But we don't lose many people.
That's awesome.
And I think that's a testament to how we treat people. And as far as collaborative, that's, we both handle that.
That's so
and
cool.
We've got a great management staff at both bars. My God. That's the most important part. I'm sure you'll ask me a question eventually about that. But
yeah, I wanted to dive into team building.
Yeah,
because I'm sure through your time as a fireman, teamwork is essential.
Sure.
And you probably learned how to work with a lot of different types of people because you have to,
the personalities on the fire department and in the bar industry. I mean, they both have the reputations too. Everyone knows it. I was like, man, firefighters are weird. I was like, man, restaurant industry is weird. But no, you have to adapt to personalities and just be respectful and open with anybody. And I mean, I've always been that way. I mean, I get along with everybody, and I treat everyone the same when I meet them. I don't care who they are, black, white, old, young, purple, whatever, So I go out of my way to be nice to everyone and give them the benefit of the doubt until they give me a reason not to.
Yeah.
So, and we treat our employees like that. We treat customers like that. Just people on the street.
When you go through the hiring process, is there character traits that you're looking for?
I need personal.
Yeah.
I need people that are going to come there and be nice.
Yeah.
Be nice to customers and be easy to work with their other, not me, but just their coworkers. Nothing is worse than when you have to sit down a couple of employees that aren't getting along with each other. It's like, look, guys, it's just a restaurant, man. I was like, I mean, there's TVs just watch TV. I mean, why y'all arguing?
Chill out. I remember I was a server at Chili's for a while.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And when people would just get so caught up in the moment, they're just anxious and all that. There's one lady who had been there for a long time, was a great server, just worked hard, and she was just cool as a cucumber. And she would just be like, "It's just burgers and shakes, people. Just chill out."
You have to remember, it's not life or death. It's not. Yeah. I mean, do your job, be good, but I mean, don't. We're all going home today, It's
You're
not.
Like, I've been in life.
Exactly. This is not one of them.
Oh man.
That was another thing that was great when I was firefighting and when I was in the midst of firefighting and on these bars. Whichever job that I was at that time, they were fascinated with the stories from the other career.
Yeah.
So when I'm at firefighting, they would always want to hear about, what happened at the bar? Y'all kicking someone out, or there's some girl, whatever. But then I go to work and they'd be like, "Oh my God, there's a fire," or, there's a rat, So
you always had a story to tell.
I always had a story to tell. So
that's the key to life. Just do really crazy things, and then you'll always have a story to tell.
That's good advice.
That's awesome. No, it is interesting. One of the guys I follow, he talks about marketing, different things like that, and he's basically like, you got to do impressive things, and then you can talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you're here at this podcast not because you lived a boring life or a life that didn't have hardship or a life that's not worth living. Like, you've accomplished some very significant things that the average person probably would be too fearful to press into. And, one of the takeaways that is like that resilience, man. I mean, it's impressive.
Thank you.
It's very impressive.
Thank you.
I want to dive into, and we didn't talk about this before, but I think it's good to share, and I wouldn't even call this as a failure per se, but I want to get the backstory. I want to hear it. So I know you started a restaurant up in Nashville.
Yeah.
And then it closed down.
Right.
Did not pan out. Would you be open to talking about that
and
saying because I think sometimes, people have this, you obviously have the resilience to press through. But in this situation, I want to dive into it. You also had the resilience to say, "Hey, we're not gonna.
Right.
This is not working."
Nashville was I always wanted one in Nashville.
Yeah.
I went back and forth with the landlord about it. I met him in 2016, same building, and it didn't work out. And then he contacted me in 2020, and without getting too much into my, I crushed my hip. I had hip surgery real bad. And he called me around that time. And I mean, I was in a wheelchair, so I couldn't then. And then he called me again around COVID, right before COVID broke, with a location in that building. It kept opening up. And that should have been the warning signs right there that maybe there was something.
Yeah, the cycle.
In that market, in that location, because the location was in the middle of everything. I mean, in the middle of everything. Then he called a couple of years ago, and we were interested. And he said that he was kicking his tenants out. And again, I should have took that as a warning. And we got up there and we set it up, and it was a great spot. It used to be an old theater. It was a really great spot. One door on Printer's Alley, which was historic. I mean, Jimi Hendrix used to play there.
Oh, wow.
Open mic nights every week, right
That's
there next
wild.
door to where we were. I mean, real history. And then on the other side was Third Avenue North, a busy strip, and it costs so much money to be up there. I mean, like, they're very proud of their real estate in Nashville.
Yeah.
I mean, it's expensive here, but the rent, this is true, the rent that we were paying in Nashville is twice as much as both locations here combined.
Wow.
True story. And we were making money. It was working out okay. But without, you know, I'm not trash talking anyone, but the landlord had another location in the building, and he began renting them out that was conveniently open too. And he set up some deal with people where they weren't paying rent, and the rent was his investment. So he had 2 commercial spaces in this building and then lofts above. And once that started, he changed, because with them, they're not paying rent because he's an investor.
Right.
And he can tell them what to do.
Right.
Not just, I mean, I run a tight ship, man. I'm very safe, clean, everything. So I'm not giving landlords problem. I've never had a problem with a landlord, ever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he's trying to tell us how to run our business.
It just didn't.
And it didn't, and it got worse and worse. And he was trying to treat us the same way he's treating someone that's rent-free.
Yeah.
And I'm paying $25,000 a month. I mean, thank you for your advice, but, you know.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't stop. And, I mean, it was ultimatums and stuff. And I was like, this is not going to work out with this gentleman.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I appreciate your openness about it. It's interesting to just, like, the wisdom that you have to say, like, I see the writing on the wall. Like, we're gonna figure this. This is not going the direction.
It wasn't.
And even with the move from you know, to Avondale, from Southside, you saw the writing on the wall. You tried to work it out, didn't work out. I've got a business to run. I've got to make some decisions.
Right. It's not, especially moving from Southside, it was bittersweet because, I mean, we'd been in that building forever as Black Market. And then again, Elise and I, business partner, we'd worked there. I worked there 8 years with her at the mill in that building. I mean, you're talking about 2 decades in the same damn building. So, I mean, there was a lot of history there, and it's an old building.
Yeah.
And so it was bittersweet leaving. It was kind of sad. But, you know, at the end of the day, Black Market is me and my employees and lease, you know. It's not that building.
Yeah.
So Avondale was the right move for us, and it's working. And leaving Nashville was definitely the right move for us.
That's great.
I think I'm just too Birmingham, Todd.
Yeah.
I think that's really what happened with Nashville. I have people, you know, Reddit loves me, by the way. Anonymous Reddit, oh, they love me. So you should. So when we closed Nashville, you know, everyone anonymously got on there and loved to tell me how stupid I was for trying. And I was like, you know, zero regrets for trying. Even the money we lost, because, like, if you don't try, you'll never know.
You'll never know.
Man,
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Because early on, like, what if you said, I'm not going to try speakeasy?
What
if I'm not going to try?
That's what I told. That's exactly. What if I don't want to get on the fire department? Anything I've ever done, man. What if I didn't try?
Yeah. What if I didn't?
You
try?
know.
There was one time I was flipping 2 houses at the same time, and running both at the, you know, and one was taking a long time, eating up capital.
Sure.
Just huge reno. The other one was a quicker flip. I made 38 on one, and probably did that in 2 months. And the other one I was at a year, way too long. It was a disaster, and I think I made $3,000. Luckily, I probably should have lost money on it, but I was over there swinging a hammer a little bit because I'm like, I'm not losing money. This is probably dumb, you know. I could probably go find a better deal, but, and all that to say is, like, I stepped away from it and I was like, will you stop flipping? You know, especially because that one closed and that story's like, oh, that was a huge win, and then we closed this other one and I'm like, well, that didn't work out. And then you're like, you got to look at the whole story to say, am I going to swear off this line of business because one deal did not work out? And it's just like, no, that's not the case. You got to look at the whole story of someone's life, whole story of the business, whole story of, you know, the scenario, rather than we like to, I think as humans, we naturally like to look at a specific thing and make decisions off of that. So I want to circle back on you and Elise's process on making good business decisions, why you moved. Like, what are the filters you guys are using as you're like, hey, it's time to move to Avondale. Hey, it's time to pull out of Nashville, or it's time to move to Nashville. Like, what are those filters that you guys sit down and say doesn't meet this criteria? Is there a profit thing that you guys look at? Is there a culture thing? Is there, metrics?
Survival. I mean, our survival as a business, as a thriving. I mean, she and I have bills too, but every time it comes up, I mean, the first thing she's like, like our employees have to pay their bills. I mean, she'll bring it up immediately. I mean, they got kids.
Yeah.
I mean, we're providing the people, 70, 80 people, a chance to feed their families. So I mean, it weighs a lot. So we look at our options, and we knew we had to get out of Southside. So, I mean, we did some numbers. But especially when they approached us at that location, and another location approached us over in
everybody wanted Black
Lakeview.
It's like over here.
No kidding.
I like that Lakeview pocket.
Yeah, Lakeview is all right. Up there where 5 is, we were looking at that spot too. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you can't beat being next to Avondale Brewery.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
I mean, we used to have to. We would.
And Melt's still over there too, right?
No, Melt's not. Melt's gone.
Not.
No,
Okay. I like Melt.
Yeah, I do too. Paget.
Yeah.
She's a nut. My daughter worked for. They worked at the Melt in Auburn. One thing that was driving me crazy with our Southside location was the necessity for live music, because it added which I used to do all the time. I mean, we had a punk rock club, but I was not in charge of it, and so we're always trying to find bands that would accommodate with people wanting to eat. It's not as easy,
Yeah.
So when we moved to Avondale, the first thing that I began recognizing is that we didn't have to do that anymore, because we have the brewery next door, and we have Saturn across the street. Saturn's no joke.
Yeah.
I don't know what they cap at, but they 700 people. I mean, they do some great shows.
Yeah.
So we're sitting, literally a stone's throw away from those two places. So we don't need that area that we were paying for a stage, and we don't have to worry about covers and getting bands and all that.
That's awesome.
And now, and Saturn and Avondale, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but I think they love us over there. I mean, they tell me they do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, I promote their shows. So, because, they benefit us.
Yeah,
I'm a nice guy, but still, I'm promoting, come down to Avondale,
Yeah, come in before and then go to the show. So that's awesome.
There was a country concert. I can't remember who it was. Teddy Swims.
Oh, yeah.
Big name.
Yeah.
And that was right before we opened up. And but we had the building. And man, I remember driving through there, and our parking lot looked like a tailgate at a college football game. And I was so mad that we weren't open yet, because those people they literally had their money in their hands. Like, who can I give this to?
They're ready to have
I was just like, God. And they're all looking in the windows at Blackmore. Is it open? Yeah. So.
Was your sign up at that point?
Oh no, we're up. Big coming soon banner. Yeah.
They're like, oh shoot, I bet they would have. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one of the reasons, and we talked about this earlier, was I wanted to have you on Birmingham. I think the culinary scene is very strong here. And one of the things that is, for better or for worse, I don't know which, but, if you have a new restaurant open up and it's not successful within the first 3 to 4 months, it's probably shutting down, because something new opens up. A bunch of the people who enjoy that scene and like to get out will visit it. And then the word starts to spread, and either it's a good word or it's a bad word, because I think the level's so high here in either food or service or feel. You just have to have a niche. You have to have something that you are offering the customers of Birmingham. But I wanted you to dive in, because you are in that scene more than I am. Speak specifically to things you're seeing, and if you kind of resonate with what I'm kind of the outside looking in. There's a couple favorite restaurants I have that I go to, but what are you kind of seeing, and why do you think it's so special here?
I feel like Birmingham is full of people that want to prove themselves. If you go outside of Alabama, the rest of the country sort of views us, better or worse. They picture the Alabama, the one strip towns and, marrying their cousins. You hear all the jokes. But Birmingham's a pretty damn progressive city for the South. And I feel like the people in here, they want to prove themselves. And I see it in this industry a lot. a lot of the awards and accolades that have gone to the city, Chris Hastings, Hot and Hot and all that. I mean, Stitt. I mean, it's almost eerie that a town this size has that many people.
The heavy hitters.
It was kind of like, you remember when like American Idol had like 4 people from Alabama in 2 years? It's like, what is going on? And it's kind of like that too. And I'm in awe. I don't know if you've been to Helen downtown.
I have, yeah.
Rob, a friend of mine owns it. Man, that is, Rob and his wife own it. And I've known him since the 90s when I worked at the mill and he worked at Hot and Hot. And now, I guess he got tired of working for someone else too.
Yeah.
Because now he's got one of the best damn restaurants out there. And it's impressive to see, and it's awesome. And this business attracts people that aren't part of it sometimes. Like, I've always wanted to open my own bar. And those are the bars that get swallowed up, I think, in 2 or 3 months. Yeah. They go in thinking it's just going to be fun and, I can drink at work. No, you can't.
No, you got a business.
I tell, like, some bars allow people to drink, and I don't. It's not because I'm some jackass, but like, and it's not because I don't drink. It's because you don't drink at work. I didn't drink at the fire department.
Yeah.
Do you drink at work? Exactly. I told him, I can't remember who I said, the only people that drink at work are rock stars and strippers, man, and you're neither one. I mean, that's it.
We got business around.
Right, exactly. You can drink after work. Never mind, it's a liability. I just,
Yeah.
So that's where it's impressive to see in a town this size, really. I mean,
I think a lot of it does trickle down from some of those restaurants who started early on. And I think it goes back to like El Barrio is one of my favorites.
Sure.
And they have their own take on Mexican restaurant. They're not trying to be anybody else but themselves. And I've enjoyed, when I get to go out, the fact that like I don't think I've been to a chain besides Chick-fil-A because that's God's chicken.
Doing the Lord's work.
The Lord's work right there. I don't think I've been to a chain restaurant sit down in years. I just can't do it anymore.
I know. It's not.
There's too many good options.
No, absolutely.
And for a little bit, 5-minute extra drive, you can try something totally different.
Sure.
And so that's yeah. I'm glad you confirmed that because I think it is one of. There's UAB, obviously is a huge economic driving force. I think we have a lot of finance here, a lot of lawyers. And then there's a lot of industrial, still it's different than it used to be with the steel mills, that's not as prevalent, but there's still a lot of industrial.
Sure.
But I think the culinary scene and everything that has supported the people being here and enjoying life in the city, and the draw to downtown, has been a lot of the restaurants, and you're part of that. So
sure.
Thank you, for making our city great.
Hey-o. Another great thing about the city is just the location of itself in the South. I mean, you know that. Like, yeah. I love living here. I do. I mean, you get to Atlanta in 2 hours. Get to Nashville in 3. New Orleans in 5. Beach in 4. I mean, you can't. The mountains in 3.5 or 4. I mean, you got it all right there.
It really is true. There's great things all within Great Lakes are within an hour to 2 hours.
Sure, I know.
Everything is a stone throw away.
Let me ask you something. What neighborhood did you grow up in?
I grew up in Colorado, and that's what's interesting is I appreciate about them speaking to that because there is some cool stuff. Don't get me wrong. I was south of Denver, so Denver, and you can snowboard and all that's about 3 hours away. But the eastern side of the state is pretty much just desert. Technically desert. It's a lot of farming and stuff, and then you have the mountains. So it's pretty much like. You have to travel to anything different besides mountain fun things. You're traveling 10 plus hours.
Sure.
To get over to, we'll say Vegas or, even the Grand Canyon's not a stone's throw away from where I live. So there's just a lot of great things very close for families to do and people to do. And then you have a great city to live in itself. Mm-hmm. So I love the city.
Me too.
So.
Me too.
Full of opportunity. Well, this has been an amazing conversation, man. Going into it, knowing you from playing hockey and stuff, I kind of knew your background, but I was like, man, I'd love to just sit down and learn. And one of the key mark things is just the resilience of your story and just the persistence of building a business through. I'm blown away that I didn't realize you were a firefighter that long while you were building your business. I thought you had retired a long time ago and were just doing black market for a good bit of time. So that's crazy. Like sometimes I feel a little crazy.
Stubborn, not smart, Todd.
But that's what it takes. I mean, I think everybody has their own story in their own unique way. But there's days going back to like you're your worst boss. Like, I work for myself too.
Sure.
And you get up some days and you don't feel like working.
Mm-mm.
You are tired. You are unmotivated. You are after you lose a deal. This last week me and some partners, we were working on a deal, had a verbal agreement, and then the guy just pulls out last minute. I don't think I want to. It's like a kick in the gut.
Oh, sure.
It's something you're expecting to come down the line.
Yeah.
You had a verbal agreement. You're like, we're moving forward. And then that happens, and you're like, golly, I just feel like I got knocked down. And the ability to pick yourself up, kick yourself in the butt, no one else is doing it for you. You're doing it to yourself, and you have to push yourself again and motivate yourself because no one else is going to look over your shoulder and say, hey. And there has to be this deep inner, drive and vision for what you're trying to build to why you do it.
You have to believe in what you're doing. Keep going. If you don't believe, you're not gonna. So essentially inspire yourself to keep going.
Yeah.
Again, it. You're the boss. You are your boss. So.
Yeah, that's a great lesson. Yeah. So, well, time is our most valuable thing, man, and I appreciate you being here and taking the time to share your wisdom, your knowledge, your crazy stories. I could probably sit here for another 2 hours listening to your bar and / fireman stories.
I'm sorry it took you 2 years to get me in here, man.
No.
That's on me.
So this has been great, man. I appreciate your time.
Thank you,
Catch you
Todd.
soon.